Hello and welcome to Tuesday's Reflection. We're continuing reading John's Gospel and pick up where Sylvia left off yesterday in the middle of chapter 15. Yesterday we heard Jesus tell his disciples that just as the Father has loved him, Jesus has loved them. He has kept his Father's commandments and abides in his love. Likewise, if the disciples keep his commandments, they can know the joy of abiding in Jesus' love. That's exactly the same for us today. So let's pick up at verse 12 in chapter 15. It's very lovely, one of my favourites. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you. I do not call you servants any longer, because the servant does not know what the master is doing. But I have called you friends, because I have made known to you everything that I have heard from my Father. You did not choose me, but I chose you, and I appointed you to go and bear fruit, fruit that will last, so that the Father will give you whatever you ask in my name. I'm giving you these commands so that you may love one another. And we thank God for this very beautiful word. So Jesus has his eye fixed on the cross. He knows what's coming, and he chooses now to take his relationships with his disciples to this new level, with this commandment to love one another as he has loved them. The extent of his love, which he's hinting at here, will become crystal clear in the coming weeks. They've been his disciples for 3 years or so, following him, watching, learning, often misunderstanding, but trying to understand. As Jews, like Jesus, they'd have been familiar with the beautiful Shema prayer, which they'd recite twice a day. Find it in the book of Deuteronomy in chapter 6 in the Old Testament. It reminds the Israelites that there is one God, and that they would love him with all their heart and their mind, and teach their children and bind it to their hearts. And that's the basis, I think, of this prayer that Jesus is telling his disciples to love their Lord, their God, with all their heart, this commandment. That wasn't in any way new. But in Luke and Mark's accounts, Jesus adds the second commandment, we might call it, to love their neighbour as themselves. That sort of sums up the rest of the 10 commandments that the Israelites would have known. But here in John's Gospel, commandment is slightly different. Not to love their neighbour as themselves, but to love as Jesus has loved them, that we should love as he has loved us. And what's that love like? Well, Jesus loves patiently. Personal love, isn't it? It's unreserved, totally given, which is what he demonstrates when he's prepared to die for us on the cross. The relationship with the disciples deepens when he tells them that they're no longer slaves, carrying out instructions through fear or an obligation, but no, they're friends. It's a relationship of trust, of love, a relationship that shares its thoughts and its heart. I have a friend who, when we were getting to know each other, developing our friendship, she would say, give me the gift of honesty, Julie. What do you think about? And she'd ask me a question. We'd share our thoughts, especially those deep thoughts that requires trust, doesn't it? And it feels like a gift. Of course, over time, as a friendship blossoms, we get to know people well and share our thoughts and our innermost ideas more readily, don't we? We don't feel we need to protect them from the person that we know well. Of course, in time, we can actually predict. I've got friends who I could probably tell you what they think, and they could definitely tell you what I think. We spend time and we get to know each other well. Well, this is the kind of thing that Jesus is talking about. Jesus chooses us to be his friends. Jesus knew the heart of the Father, constantly in dialogue and praying. That's the example he gives us in his life. And now he calls us into this intimate, trusting relationship with him too. Better than all our friends, the best friend. And our response, what does Jesus command us to do in response to this wonderful gift of love with him? He asks us to love those around us and to share that love with them, to share his love. It's a wonderful gift and a wonderful thought for today, to be loved in such an intimate way and chosen by Jesus. So I'll leave you with that thought, and I hope you have a good day, that you know God's love and that you find opportunities to share that love with other people around you. I'll see some of you very soon. God bless. Bye-bye.